The first time I saw her, I thought she was already dead. She lay half-buried beneath the wreckage of a supply shuttle that had no business being on this side of the asteroid belt. The hull was torn open like a crushed tin can, its metal peeled back and twisted into jagged, blackened edges. Whatever had hit it hadn't just destroyed it, it had erased any chance of survival. Or so I thought. I was out there scavenging, like always. Name's Elias Varn. Former cargo pilot. Current nobody. The kind of man who survives by picking apart other people's failures and selling what's left. The belt is full of ghosts like that. I was about to leave. Nothing useful in the wreck. Too much radiation. Too unstable. When I saw her hand twitch. At first, I froze. Then I swore under my breath and scrambled down the broken hull, boots scraping metal. "Hey," I called out, not even sure why. "Hey, you alive?" No response. But her chest, it moved. Barely. I pushed aside a chunk of plating and finally saw her properly. She wasn't human. That part was obvious, even through the grime and blood. Her skin had a faint opalescent sheen, like light refracting through oil on water. Her hair, if you could call it that, flowed in soft, filament-like strands that shimmered faintly blue. Her features were delicate, almost too symmetrical. And her eyes. Closed, thank God. Because even unconscious, she didn't look harmless. She looked important, and that made her dangerous. I hesitated. Helping her was a bad idea. Helping anyone out here was a bad idea. But leaving her, I sighed. Damn it, getting her back to my ship nearly killed both of us. She was lighter than she looked, but dead weight is still dead weight. And the wreck kept shifting, groaning like it wanted to collapse entirely. Twice, I nearly dropped her. Once, I thought I heard something moving deeper inside the wreck, something that definitely wasn't human. That was enough motivation to move faster. By the time I reached my ship, the Dust Runner, my arms were shaking and my lungs felt like sandpaper. I laid her down on the med cot, sealing the hatch behind me. "All right," I muttered. "Let's see what you are." My med scanner wasn't built for alien biology, but it tried its best. The readings came back chaotic. Multiple unknown organs, strange energy signatures, a metabolic rate that fluctuated wildly. And one clear conclusion. She was dying. Starvation. Dehydration. And something else, something the scanner couldn't identify. I grabbed a nutrient pack, hesitated, then rigged a diluted feed through a basic injector. "Don't know if this'll help," I said. "But it's all I've got." As the fluid entered her system, her body reacted immediately. Her fingers curled, her breathing hitched, and then her eyes snapped open. I stumbled back. They weren't wrong. Not in a monstrous way. Not glowing or sharp or anything dramatic. Just deep. Too deep. Like looking into a sky without stars. She stared at me, unmoving. I raised my hand slowly. "Easy. You're safe." "Well, safer than you were." Her gaze flicked around the room, taking everything in with frightening speed. Then she tried to sit up. "Hey, no, don't." She collapsed instantly. Her body simply didn't have the strength. A sound escaped her then. Not quite a word. Not quite a cry. Something in between. It hit me harder than I expected. "Yeah," I muttered. "That's about how I feel most days, too." I adjusted the feed, giving her more. Carefully. Too much too fast could kill her. For a while, she just lay there, breathing shallowly. Watching me. Always watching. It took hours before she spoke. And even then, it wasn't in any language I knew. Her voice was soft, melodic, almost musical, but the words meant nothing to me. "Sorry," I said. "You're gonna have to try something else." She studied me, then slowly raised a trembling hand. I tensed, but instead of attacking, She reached toward my head.
Ah.
I'd rather you didn't. Her fingers brushed my temple, and suddenly, I wasn't in my ship anymore. I was standing in a field of silver grass under a sky filled with shifting colors. Wind whispered through the air, carrying distant voices.
Pain. Fear.
Hunger.
Loss.
It wasn't just a place. It was a memory. Her memory. I staggered, clutching my head. What the hell? Images flooded in. A world dying. Cities collapsing. People, her people, fading, starving, turning on each other.
A war.
Not with weapons. With absence. With something being taken away. And at the center of it all, her. Not just anyone. A leader. A queen. I ripped myself free with a gasp, collapsing back onto the deck. She withdrew her hand instantly, eyes wide. I swallowed. I saw. She watched me, something fragile flickering in her expression. Understanding. Yeah, I said quietly. I get it. Over the next few days, we learned how to communicate. It wasn't perfect. Fragments of shared images, emotions, simple concepts. Her name didn't translate properly, but the closest I could manage was Lyra. She was not just royalty. She was the last of something. Her species didn't just eat food. They consumed energy, emotional energy, connection, presence, and something or someone had cut them off from it. Completely. They had starved, not just physically, but emotionally, existentially. I didn't fully understand it, but I understood one thing. She wasn't just hungry. She was alone. I gave her everything I could.
Food.
Water. Shelter. It helped, but not enough. She grew stronger, physically, but something inside her was still breaking. I could see it in the way she stared out into space for hours. In the way her breathing changed when she thought I wasn't looking. In the silence that clung to her. One night, I found her crying. It was subtle. No sobbing. No shaking. Just tears. Silent, glowing faintly as they traced down her cheeks. I leaned against the doorway. You're still starving, I said. She shook her head weakly. Not that. I frowned. Then what? She hesitated, then reached out again. This time, I didn't pull away. The vision was different. Quieter. A throne room. Empty. Cold. She stood alone at its center, waiting. For voices that would never return. For a connection that had been severed. For a people that were gone. The feeling hit me like a punch. Not hunger.
Not pain. Grief.
Endless, crushing grief. I came back gasping. Oh, I whispered. She looked at me, tears still falling. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't before. Food wasn't what she needed. Not really. She needed connection. Someone to be there. I'm still here, I said, the words feeling small and inadequate. She tilted her head slightly. I stepped closer. I don't know your world. I don't know your people. But I'm here, right now. I hesitated, then added, and I'm not going anywhere. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then, something shifted. Not in the room. In her. The air felt warmer. Lighter. She reached out again, but this time gently.
Carefully.
And when her fingers touched my hand, the connection wasn't overwhelming. It was shared, balanced. I felt her grief, but she also felt something from me. Loneliness, regret. All the years drifting through space with no one to care if I lived or died. She pulled back slightly, eyes widening. You're alone too, I said with a faint smile.
She didn't need to speak.
I could feel it. She understood. Days turned into weeks. Something changed between us. She improved, not just physically, emotionally. The silence around her faded. She started exploring the ship, watching me work, even occasionally trying to mimic human expressions. She wasn't starving anymore. Not like before. But the grief never fully left. I don't think it ever would. Then one day, the signal came. It appeared on my console as a faint, irregular pulse. Not human. Not anything I'd seen before. But Lyra reacted instantly. Her entire body went still. Then she rushed to the display, hands hovering over it as if she could feel it. "What is it?"
I asked.
She didn't answer.
Didn't need to.
When she touched my mind, the message was clear. Others. Not many, but not zero. Survivors. Far away, but reachable.
Hope.
I leaned back in my chair. "Well," I said slowly, "that changes things." She looked at me. There was something in her eyes I hadn't seen before.
Fear.
Not of death. Of leaving. "You want to go?" I said. It wasn't a question. She hesitated, then nodded. Of course she did. This was her chance. Her people. Her purpose. Her home. I swallowed, forcing a grin.
Good.
That's good. That's what you need. The words felt heavier than they should have. She stepped closer,
Reaching out again.
This time, I didn't need the connection to understand. She didn't want to leave me. "Hey," I said softly. "You were dying when I found you. Now you've got a chance to live. Really live." I paused. "You don't throw that away." Her fingers tightened slightly, and for a moment I almost said it.
Stay.
But I didn't, because I knew what it meant to be alone. And I wouldn't trap her in that. The journey took 3 days. We didn't talk much.
Didn't need to.
Some things don't fit into words. When we finally arrived, I saw them. Ships. Damaged.
Scarred.
But alive. Waiting. She stood at the airlock, hesitating. I leaned against the wall. "This is it."
She turned to me.
And for the first time since I met her, she smiled. Not perfectly, not human, but real. Then she stepped forward and pulled me into an embrace. The connection surged. Not overwhelming, not painful, just full. Gratitude.
Warmth.
Something deeper than either of us could fully understand. And beneath it all, a promise. When she pulled away, her eyes were brighter, stronger, alive in a way they hadn't been before. She stepped back, then turned and walked into the light. I watched until the airlock closed, until the signal faded, until she was gone. The dust runner felt quieter after that, emptier, but not the same kind of empty as before. A week later, I received a transmission.
Clear. Strong. Alive.
I didn't understand the words,
But I didn't need to.
because when the signal touched my mind, I felt it. Connection, gratitude, and something else. I smiled, leaning back in my chair. "Yeah," I said softly. "I'm still here too." Ending. Elias doesn't follow Lyra. He doesn't become a hero, or a king, or anything extraordinary. But he changes. He stops drifting, starts answering signals, helping where he can, because now he knows something he didn't before. Even in the cold emptiness of space, no one survives alone. And somewhere, across the stars, a queen who once cried from starvation no longer feels alone either.